Hi, this is Chimes Media and I'm James Williams. Last week I sat through a presentation, a forum concerning the untimely deaths of patients at Gosport War Memorial Hospital, which occurred roughly in the 1990s and probably into the 2000s as well. Families and friends of the victims had a chance to hear what the police had to say, what the civil service had to say, and it was quite good, but it was quite revealing stuff. Dr. Jane Barton, at the centre of this controversy, signed 833 certificates. There are 656 believed unlawful deaths occurred in that hospital, mainly from overdosing on opiates. It's dimorphine and other types of opiates, and it's created a scandal. No one was prosecuted. No one, has been brought to justice. It's gone on. It's been allowed to go, and the families have been left floundering, basically. So this was a terrible scandal. It could have been. It looked up to 2,000 possible deaths, but 656 or so they decided were very suspicious. So up to 2,000. Well, any number can do. It doesn't matter how big the number is, really. It's still bad, whatever it is. And if you're a relative or friend of one of those that died, yeah, it's shocking stuff. And one of the ladies there asked a question. Well, if this is happening in one small part of Hampshire, is it happening elsewhere? Well, it doesn't take much to look through the records, and you can easily get drawn to what was the mid-Staffordshire scandal. That happened in the early noughties, I think. In 2009, the Healthcare Commission conducted a 6-month investigation into higher than average mortality rates for emergency admissions at 2 mid-Staffordshire hospitals. They're called the Mid-Staffordshire Trust, I think it was called. When its findings were published the following year, it was widely reported that up to 1,200 people had died in unacceptable neglect or maltreatment. A huge scandal, and you think, well, okay, that's two hospitals. It goes on further. I think the Daily Mail and amongst other media organisations looked at this, and they said there were 14 hospital trusts in question that since 2005 had been responsible for possibly 13 to even 20,000 deaths. Now they're plucking numbers out of the air, and it's based on statistics, mortality rates. And since then, there have been questions about how they were calculated, the statistics. This is a misrepresentation of the reality of things, and recording, who's recording what. It makes no difference. There's a scandal there. Whether you're talking about 100, 1,000, 10,000, there's a scandal there. But it goes further than that. That's just looking at the health service in Britain. Because a few days ago, Tommy Robinson stood on the steps of the Old Bailey, being released again. He goes to the courts expecting to not come back and be sent down. He's done that about 3 or 4 times now. And he was saying, basically, he was one of the characters who highlighted the terrible, ongoing, systematic rape of young white girls across the UK. And I saw Lord Pearson saying, well, they don't know the pure numbers because a lot of it's hidden. But it's estimated that up to 250,000 white girls, underage white girls no less, have been raped since 2000. That is staggering numbers. If it's 25,000, that's too many. If it's 2, that's too many. But 250,000, it's an estimate. But heavens above, does it really matter what the exact number is? It's absolutely scandalous. But these things come into other matters. You think, well, these are vulnerable girls, and what do? Instead of going after the perpetrator so much, which they're trying to do now belatedly. They go for those who whistleblow, who bring this to attention. They go for persecuting, like Tommy Robinson, who I call a rough diamond. You know, yeah, he's got a background, but he's a brick, isn't he? He's a brick. He's a working class guy. He's bound to have some rough stuff in him. But that's what heroes come from. And I don't want to glorify people calling them heroes, but yeah, he is. He's had to suffer because of the neglect and pig ignorance and prejudice of the hypocritical political and media establishment. And I can't strongly enough condemn them, because they come out with the high moral ground that they are better people. For heaven's sake, they live in their own bloody bubble, don't they? They really do. They don't give a monkey's. And I look back at my working life, getting a little bit older now. I look back at my working life, and I've come across little scandals here and there. You know, there was an office I worked for, a government office not far from where I live. It's not there any longer. And that was full of scandals. They had a high turnover of staff. This was healthy people. You know, there's one woman who was in and out of a mental institution. Another one had a breakdown. You know, and then they picked on me for all things. You know, and you had to watch your back. It was incredible. It was so vindictive. That's one of the things that fired my interest in studying psychopaths. Because these buggers get into your life and you don't even realise it. They come over smiling, nice people, appealing to you. And they can totally ruin your life, ruin your relationships, ruining your job prospects, your future, everything. And many people knuckle down and keep their head down. That's a quote that was told. Keep your head down, don't complain. And that's a common thing. And why should you? Well, if you don't, you get their full wrath, plus the support of the people who go along with things, coming down on your head. Yeah. I attended my second red pill group this week as well. It's kind of interesting. The red and the blue pill, the idea behind the Matrix movie. Yeah, are you a red pill or a blue pillar? Very interesting, because it went more philosophically into the meanings of those sort of things, and how, you know, if you are a red pill person, you might not be fully awake. You might not realise that other layers of BS are covering up what you're seeing is the truth. You only see something and you think, wow, I didn't realise that. And when you dig further, you find out there's more malevolence and more maggoty worm people than you ever thought. It's a horrible situation. For me, I believe it created a sleep disorder in myself, you know, and I've had to give up work because of it. So yeah, it has a cost. You know, for a lot of other people, they develop cancers and all sorts of terrible things. So how deep does this rabbit hole go? You know, how bad is it? And do we really care at all? Are we important enough? No, we're nobodies. You and I are nobodies. We're tiny little cogs in a machine run by, I don't know who's running them. Psychopath is a nice label, but run by psychopathic types of institutions who are all only interested in their own ends and their own sadistic, I don't know, causes. Right, now I wrote a letter to my MP. My MP is Penny Morden. She's a very decent woman, but she's been sucked into the system like anyone else. And I won't read it all, the reply back. She's forwarded my concerns about the treatment of Tommy Robinson, you know, and she pointed out it's wise to keep all emotion out when reading articles about Tommy Robinson, right? And she drew me to a Sun article, which was basically a hit piece. Yeah, I'd read those things. I wasn't behind the line on that. I knew what was going on. So I've sent her another letter. You know, I hate pestering the woman, but unfortunately you got to, haven't you? I basically replied, I appreciate you're directing me to the Sun article, in brackets, hit piece, concerning Mr. Robinson. I'm surprised that anyone should still rely on the fake media to get news of anything. May I counter by directing you to Tommy Robinson's book Enemy of the State in order to provide some context to his life story. It is perhaps because politicians still believe the newspapers and the biased broadcasting corps that so many remain ignorant of what is really going on. It is difficult not to feel emotional when I see a half-starved man emerge from a British prison, a man who had been placed there due to the prejudice of the UK establishment. His case has brought shame upon the UK as a country that was once the cornerstone of global freedom. It is interesting to note that those men on trial at Leeds Crown Court were sent home on bail after being found guilty of mass rape. I understand that one of these monsters has escaped justice and returned to Pakistan. I have also heard from Lord Pearson that in this century it is estimated that as many as 250,000 girls have been raped. Where are all the feminists, especially the parliamentary ones? Why are they so silent? Theresa May is a declared feminist. Why is she not enraged by what has happened, instead of targeting the one man who has arguably done the most to bring this ongoing scandal to public attention? Where are all the anti-racists, since most of the victims were white girls? It is quite interesting that Tommy Robinson's cause is supported by Sikhs and a diverse range of ethnicities. I believe I have every right to feel emotion when there are stories such as the one about the 12-year-old girl who had her tongue nailed to a table. That was from court records. Or the one about the girl held captive for many years and forced to have 8 abortions. That was from the Daily Mail. Tommy Robinson is regarded by those still with free minds as a working class hero. Others would call him a rough diamond. Such individuals come with rough edges that many are prepared to tolerate. By contrast, many people in the fake media have had privileged lives and live in their own bubble. Now, I didn't stop there. I found a site called it's for the European Federation of Journalists. I noted actually there was nothing about Britain, nothing about Tommy Robinson on there. It was aimed at Russia and Saudi Arabia, and I think Malta came into it as well. But I wrote to them anyway. They haven't had a chance to reply to me. I said, I was courteous, obviously, to start with anyway. I said, I'm pleased that bodies such as yours exist, but I often find it right to be sceptical, since organisations set up to argue for the rights of a group invariably turn out to be partisan. For example, a few weeks ago, journalist Tommy Robinson was released from Onley prison in the UK after spending 2 months there based on very thin and doubtful charges. When he was finally able to stand for a camera to view him, he was emaciated and had been kept in solitary confinement for most of his detainment. I saw no journalists nor any UK media organisations speaking upon his behalf. In fact, they were all too ready to condemn him. I have never contributed 1 penny to Tommy Robinson. I might start doing that now though, and regard myself as a neutral, but found myself to be utterly disgusted by the attitude of the media establishment. Did the EFJ, that's the European Federation of Journalists, say anything to highlight the torture of a journalist by the British establishment? I think it's overdue, well overdue, that we actually, those people, I've just got one small little media section, tiny, insignificant. It's time we somehow got together and created our own independent federation of news, an independent news federation, if you want to call it that. It's time we got together and did that, so all the little people can speak as one voice. you know, and we have to be clear. Freedom of speech is there, so it's no good excluding people you don't like so much. But you know, we have to do something, because we can't turn to the media. The media and the politicians are one and the same. It's like Orwell's Animal Farm. The pigs have become the humans, and the humans have become the pigs. We have no representation, really. You know, if you've taken the red pill, you're still living in the Matrix. Till next time.